Hello, welcome along to Bangkok Chit Chat, the YouTube channel from Thailand, all about Thailand. Thanks for joining. We've got the Pattaya Report today, and joining Andrew and myself, welcome back to the studio. Craig, it's been a while.
Thank you, gents.
Now, you've got the report. Pattaya's back on track, full of tourists. You've been vaccinated, all the bars are open, and everything's hunky-dory.
Is that the Pattaya Report for June 2026 that you're talking about now?
Wouldn't it be great, eh?
It would be great, yeah. Unfortunately, clearly that's not.
It's that sigh of, just I've given up.
So we'll see you all later. Thanks for watching.
That was the report.
So what's on the agenda? I mean, I was going to talk about the drainage thing because that affects the high-speed train thing, which is on your list.
Yeah.
Right. But first of all, we got to about COVID restrictions. You're on about a protest off camera.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's I think the Chonburi's following its own guidelines, other than the rules that come down from a national level. And the protest you mentioned before was to do with, I think it was people who had gaming shops and beauty salons and tattooists were three of the types of businesses that were requesting that they were allowed to open. And my understanding is that they have been allowed to open, again with different restrictions in place. So for instance, a massage can open, but you're only allowed certain types of massage. Tattoos can open, and there's certain tattoos such as facial tattoos. Not that I don't know when we'll get them, but you know,
can you get that? No,
you can't have a facial tattoo. So it seems to be much of the same.
The ticket size 6 is completely closed. Yeah.
Soy 6 is closed. I mean, Soy Bacau, that sort of area. Right. I mean, it's dead. I mean, it's awfully dead, actually. In fact, to the point where it's actually hit me more in recent couple of weeks than I've seen before. I near where my office is, I go for a bite to eat occasionally in a restaurant in Soy Bacau with my uncle, and I was walking down there the other day, and it's at the point where you're seeing like signs falling off of bars and buildings. And I think we touched upon it a couple of weeks ago in one of the chit chats with the people that have become homeless. Oddly enough, the other evening I spotted a couple of those, and this was like again 7 p.m. People, but I'm not sure they were sleeping there, but just sort of sat there, looking somewhat desolate.
Do you have the Farang sitting outside the 7-Eleven having a beer, which you can't get in a bar? Yeah.
You've got a couple of those.
You used to get that before COVID, man.
I'm not sure what the rule is on that. I mean, I guess they are sort of vulnerable to getting a sort of tap on the shoulder, I'd imagine, wouldn't you?
Well, I did hear the principle is you can go in and buy a beer in a 7-Eleven, stand outside or wherever it is and have a drink, but you can't go into a pub.
Yeah. But the thing my mate told me about, let's take 7-Elevens and alcohol, because you were talking earlier about alcohol seems to be the thing that's being restricted the most. Yeah. In Bangkok, it was always the new hours of, not new hours, it always was pre-COVID, 11 till 2 in the day, and then from 5 till midnight.
To buy.
Yeah. And in Pattaya, it wasn't. You could buy it 24/7, literally, all right? But now the Sevens are doing the same opening for alcohol rules as Bangkok. That's why he said his 7-Eleven.
It's been like that for a while. I mean, his 7-Eleven may have, previously been able to flaunt the rules. But
I've been to 7-Elevens in the past. I mean, 2-3 years ago when I went last down there, I had no problem going into a 7-Eleven. But maybe I just picked the right 7-Eleven.
Yeah, I think possibly that because.
But it's also a tourist destination. Well, I suppose Bangkok is as well. The thing is that different provinces have different rules. Like, so you were just saying about what was happening in Pattaya, yeah. So you were saying like massage shops. Now you can swim in your swimming pools.
Can you? Is that okay now?
Yeah, this is a list from
I believe
one of the newspapers.
I believe that's been.
Water parks are open.
Well, Ramayana, I saw that is opening on weekends only.
Gyms are open, fitness centres, sports fields, and they can be open till 9 p.m.
Beaches are open.
Beaches are open, and they've got people on chairs, deck chairs, yeah. You were thinking.
No.
What picture did you get in your mind
people
there?
on chairs telling you not to go on the beach. They're like guards.
So foot massage is allowed to be open as well. Now, in Bangkok, where we're not the swimming pools, from what I gather, they're not open yet.
No, they're not.
And
from what I've
gyms,
heard.
which I just don't understand. I've got a friend who's got a gym. Yeah, and I think it's totally ridiculous. You can have a restaurant, where you can use 25% of your space, but you can't have a gym. Where you can manage better 25% because there's no alcohol in the gym. Well, there's no alcohol in the pubs either or the restaurants. But I don't understand the difference between a gym and a restaurant. quite honestly, because you can manage things because you've got equipment. Yeah.
But my son said, you know, the sort of the first or second wave that we had here, and then it eased all up, didn't it? And everyone thought we got over it and everything opened again. My son said he went to his gym and it was empty. People still were frightened or wary of going to a gym, sharing showers.
That's correct.
And stuff
But
like
you think
that.
about a gym. You're paying a membership. During this time where you're forced to close, basically you're probably crediting them their
You put on
membership.
hold your membership,
right?
for sure.
Yes. Yeah. But if you were allowed to open and have the choice to come or not, that means that you would still be, that year, that month would go. So what's actually going to happen with gyms, depending on their policy, it's going to exacerbate the problem, because their repeat membership is going to be moved on. It gets really, really difficult. Now, there's been some very smart people. Yeah, one friend of mine, DD Fitness, yeah, in Soi Ari,
DD
fantastic
Fitness.
gym. He is now renting his equipment out. What a clever idea! And people are actually renting equipment.
Yeah, I saw that happen.
You
at
mean
the
they're
beginning
taking
of-
it out of the...
Yes,
Yeah,
rowing machines.
The first
and things like that.
lockdown, I saw that happening with a few gyms around my area. And in fact, actually, I think I actually went to do it. But by the time I'd reached out to the gym that I knew, he'd already rented a lot of his stuff out, and there
Wow.
wasn't anything left. So I knew that was happening in the.
I thought you'd been working out, you know.
Well, I mean, I do a little bit now and again, but that's about it. But I mean, the gym situation was odd before, because again, there was one around the corner from me which was an open air gym, so to speak. So it had no air conditioning, and that seemed to be operating normally before they, did the province-wide release of restrictions on the gyms. So now, as you say, all gyms can open. The gym in my village, I'm not sure, because I left to come to Bangkok on Monday, so I'm not sure if that's open or not. But it's allowed to be, like you say. But this one, which was open air, has always been open, and it's not like hiding anything, because some of the equipment is in full view of the road, so it's not like they're trying to do something, on the sly. It was open, and it was open with pride, so to speak, and
people were there.
yeah, absolutely, yeah, very busy. In fact, I went and had a look, and it was very busy on an evening. Yeah.
For what's happening just now with COVID, to give everybody an update, for the vaccination, 6.5 million people have had the vaccination.
The first jab.
Yeah. They say that 6%, but how can it be 6 if you get 70 million people in Thailand? Anyway, it's still below 10%. Yeah. And of course, we have everybody complaining about the total and utter mismanagement of the vaccine situation, one through supply, yeah, but also with multiple different apps to register and get your time. So hopefully they'll sort that out. But with some good news, and they were saying that on average, just now we're getting to about 3,000 cases, but what we have is about 4,700 people coming out of the hospitals.
Yeah, I saw the graph going
so which
down
is
on
really
that one,
good.
yeah.
It's a good sign, yeah. But they've got the vaccinations. They haven't got enough. The organisation is pathetic. There's a whole lot of political blaming and shaming. Yeah. But hopefully they will sort that out.
And Phalanx, forget it.
Foreigners, I mean, the registration system.
Was there any news in Pattaya?
Well,
about
what I saw, what I thought was unbelievable, and I might get into trouble for saying this, but
Go on.
okay, right, we make websites, we do all etc. It's part of the business. But when you went onto it, even some of the hospitals, it wasn't even a secure form. They never had anything to prove that you weren't, you weren't somebody who's basically a nobody, a spider or something like that. Yeah. There was the lock wasn't there, so there was no security layer, no certificate.
Well, I mean, Richard Barrows,
yeah.
right? He said about the last one of the registration. If you clicked, I didn't understand what he said, but everyone supported him. You can get the last person that registered, and don't forget, people are registering by the minute.
Yeah.
You could get his passport number, his home address,
That's
telephone
right.
number. It was up on the screen.
Identity.
I mean,
It could be
my-
identity theft. But I wanted to turn for every I always, I look at silver linings.
We're
where
not
whatever
doing very well
happens,
so
yeah?
far. Come on.
Silver linings. I think at the end of this, they may do so. They should take advantage of whatever system is in place and becomes a national system, which becomes something like the NHS. So you have a central central repository for people's records. Now, they say, please go to your hospital and get your records. How many hospitals have you been to over the years? You don't go to the single hospital.
The
You don't go to
Social
single
Security is
GP.
linked to a hospital, isn't it?
Yeah, but do you go to that one?
Well, I've got
That's the
private
thing,
insurance, so
yeah.
I mean, it's,
Well, exactly.
You don't go
but-
to government hospitals.
But they do have that system in place. But I mean, I don't know what your view is on the whole vaccine thing. But the way I look at it is that probably in 2-3 months' time, when things do sort themselves out, it'll probably be the easiest thing in the world. You'll probably better pop into 7-Eleven or something because well, you know what's going to happen is there's all going to be a big scramble and there's not enough.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you'll find there's too many.
Yeah.
And it'll be the easiest thing in the world to do in 2 or 3 months' time. And you know, without being too blasé about the whole virus thing, for me, the reason I'll get vaccinated is because I know that I'm going to need it to travel.
That's it.
And probably
you
for your
know,
work permit and things like that as well, yeah?
Well, yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, as long as, you know, as you say, that process can be managed accordingly. So if I'm going to apply for my work permit and they're saying you need a vaccine, obviously I need to know that there's somewhere I can go and get that vaccine. Otherwise,
I
it's a
think you're right.
catch-22,
I think
isn't it?
this is sort of like teething troubles. Plus, they've started the rollout very late compared with other countries. So there's a bit.
Regionally,
Well, look,
it's not
England's.
bad. I mean, England's a shining example for a change, isn't it? Or the UK.
Thank you for the correction. Yeah.
I did a blog a little while ago about where countries are with vaccines. This is to do with these sort of investments and how things are coming out on the economic side. And strangely enough, countries like Japan were very low. You know, I think when I did it, it must have been the beginning of last month, and I think it was 3 or 4% of Japanese had been vaccinated. I don't know where that is right now,
Yeah.
but you'd expect that to be a lot more sort of organised and for that to be in place. I don't know whether it's pushback from the people. I don't know the rationale behind it. But the UK were kind of, and the US were kind of like 40%. Then you had some European countries which we know got off to a slow start. The EU problems with the rollout. Germany, France had caught up to about 15-20%. So, you know, I think on that basis, you know, Vietnam, I have an office in Vietnam, I have colleagues over there. To the best of my knowledge there, it's pretty much zero, you know, when it comes to people that have been vaccinated. So
They kicked all the foreigners out. as well,
Japan
didn't they?
has just
another
sent a
story,
whole
yeah.
lot of vaccines across to Vietnam. They're supporting Vietnam. That was in a newspaper.
See, my wife was, funny enough, today was her first jab. She'd registered 2 months ago, 3 months, and the date, the time, 2 days ago, cancelled. She didn't cancel. I mean, it was cancelled by them. No reason given, and it was postponed, not cancelled.
I think it's all to do with expectations. And the same Boris in the UK, expectations are supposed to shut, you know, everything's opening on June 21st. Now it's been extended to July. Why promise people and businesses and they have to invest in getting stock in, etc. Like that? They just meet the people's expectations.
Yeah, but I mean,
Stop promising
she
things,
registered. Yeah, she registered.
That's
She
what I'm
was
saying. It's not
confirmed
her
time
fault,
and date. Yeah, I know. And a friend of mine in America,
Why don't they call
Arizona, to make a point, he said, we were talking about this on another streaming channel, Global FM, 24/7. He's put up on his screen, this is how easy it is here. And he went to the site, to the clinic or whatever it was, and he put his name in, when do you want to come? And even on that day he could come. Pick a time, 10 a.m., you're done. Come in, free. That's how easy it was. Now, what you just said, that could be the case in 2 or 3 months from now, once there's the product. Then the delivery system will have to be. I still see a lot of people will pay for their vaccines to get it done, not rely on.
I think it's
the
all
free
on the
government.
this
particular
other situation
vaccine,
with, yes, I'm saying, I mean, again, we don't want to sort of start talking all about vaccines, but my understanding is that some of the vaccines are not recognised by certain countries. So what good's that, you know? You need to make sure you've got one that's globally recognised. But I mean, I haven't, you know, sort of looked into it myself. As I say, I want to wait until things settle down and, you know, we know where we're at. And you know, once it's
And
there,
hopefully technology will have moved ahead, a little bit ahead, so it's covering all the variants. It's such a difficult question.
Technology.
Just on the COVID thing, in Phuket, they've got 61% of people having their first jabs already.
You mean
and they're booking
residents,
their-
like residents,
And
yeah.
there's, the foreigners supposed to be able to, but cannot, be able to book their vaccination. What's happening in Phuket, in Pattaya?
Are you supposed to be doing this sandbox thing later, or following Phuket, or?
I'll be honest with you, I don't know the answer.
There's
to
not
that.
much out there.
I mean, I think clearly, obviously with Phuket, just given its geographical setup and being an island, then something like that would be a lot easier to manage than it would be in Pattaya. I mean, you know, you can't have a easy border, can you, into Pattaya or into Chonburi?
yeah.
Whereas
Containment, right?
yeah, containment. So I don't believe so. I mean, I believe that, you know, the Pattaya and I guess the other tourist resorts, Hua Hin, Chiang Mai, and everything else will just open up as and when it becomes possible nationally. I don't think
We'll
it
use
could,
Phuket as a test.
probably
That's the
similarly they
idea.
could
But it
probably
is
do that.
isolated. I mean, I get lots of questions asked of me about, you know, people in England or abroad. When will we be able to come to Pattaya? That's all they want to know. When do you, and I don't know.
Well, you can come now, can't you? But you've just got to do your 14-day
Well, yeah.
ASQ, and of course,
I think they're talking about their 2 or 3 week holiday.
Yeah,
you
so
know,
they can.
so they can't.
But even
14
now in
days of it.
Phuket, as you say, you can go with a vector in a couple of weeks' time from the 1st July. When you meet certain criteria, you can go without doing the quarantine. But then, what's going on there? What's open?
that's
You know,
not gonna
unless
work.
you're going to. I'm not sure. I don't know if any of you have read about it, but I don't know whether they allow alcohol within the hotels. Whether any of the hotels can do like
I heard
these
they can,
all-inclusives
yeah.
and that, because
Yeah, I heard you can, but don't take my word for it. But I have heard you can. What you can't do is you can't trip down the beach and go to a bar and have a beer there, although there are a few places doing it.
Yeah.
That's all I've heard. You can. There are places, but I guess legal, illegal, don't know.
Okay. So some other things that are going on
Yeah.
in Pattaya.
Sweep COVID out of the way.
Another depressing point: the marathon for the second year has been cancelled. It sounds a bit
it was
like
going to be your year as well, wasn't it, Andy?
Yeah, I was going to go and watch.
I already had my name on your sponsorship
Yeah,
form.
10 baht a mile I was giving you.
Yeah, I'll just do half a mile. Okay, so that's the second year in a row. High-speed train project. That relates back to the flooding,
drainage thing, yeah.
But that's also going to be started in October, and that is going to be connecting the three airports.
Yeah,
Well, I
Utapao.
understand. So that the construction.
Utapao.
So it's going to take.
and
it's gonna be-
Swanepoel, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So it's going to. They say it's going to be open in 2025, which means 2030. And then construction is about 24 billion baht. It's all to do with this European, this Eastern Seaboard corridor. Yeah. So what else is happening?
Well, hang on, let's go on that drainage. A question, because you live in Pattaya. They talk about the flooding in Pattaya, and I was in one of the sois just off Beach Road once, and there was a rainstorm for about an hour, and the waters rose. But they're not talking about that. There's a big area that gets flooded regularly where this railway is supposed to go over. Is it the east side of Pattaya? Am I right
just
there?
over on the other side of Sukhumvit, you know, as
On the
known as
dark
side. Yeah. I mean, there's a number of areas, as you know, where they have a lot of flooding, and I don't know the exact route of that they're supposed to put in with the.
But it's
with
bad
the train.
flooding, which I didn't realise. Like serious, those areas were seriously flooded.
Oh, there's a road. Khao Noi is a famous road, which is always very, very suffers a lot when it comes to like you say. It doesn't even need to be a prolonged period of rain. You know, a really quick shower that's heavy.
Because everything comes down into that. That's is it a bowl sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm guessing so. I mean, the drainage is just poor. You know, I think it's to do with the makeup of the road, and even though it's been tried and tested, but they're trying to correct it.
So you see the construction and stuff going on just now, because this is actually going to be supporting the economy.
Yeah, I mean, for a little
when?
bit.
Or is it all chat?
You're seeing things happen, but I've seen things happen before, and nothing seems to change. So it's just whether those things that are happening are gonna make a difference or not.
Right.
I've also noticed that they're doing quite a lot of the cabling at the moment as well. You know, the underground cabling.
They're doing that in Bangkok as well.
Yeah. So I mean, that sort of thing, and of course it absolutely makes sense to do that type of thing now when there's less people around and it doesn't cause too much.
There's road
disruption to the
construction
traffic.
going on around where we live.
It's just I don't know enough about what they're actually doing and how effective that's going to be for the longer term, especially when it comes to things like the drainage. But we hope so, and certainly, as you say, if you've got this 24 billion baht of investment into this railway, and no doubt the investors are working alongside the government or whoever else it is who's involved with its private contractors in sorting this problem out, then perhaps we might get somewhere, because after all, money talks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We got any good things on
Yeah.
there?
So this is an interesting story. Koh Larn, which is the island just off Pattaya. That opened on the 14th of June. To get in, you've got to have temperature checks. You've got to use this Mochana Thai check system.
The app, yeah.
And you should be taking your passport with you, and also if your Thai ID. But what was interesting about it was the residents of the island which voted to close it and when to open it. It wasn't something which was being told by the government, which I thought was quite interesting because, you know, this is one thing I respect about Thailand. Even though someone says you must do this, the Thais will come out and turn around and go, no, we're not doing that. We're not going to allow that. Yeah.
I didn't realise there was that many people that were resident on that island.
Well, there'll be business owners.
Do you
and
know
things
anything
like
about that
yeah?
island? Really, it's got electricity.
Well, it's a democracy around it, which I thought was quite inspiring in a way. Yeah. But part of that was because recently, from the 15th of June, I didn't mention this earlier, there was only 50 new cases and 2 deaths. Yeah?
Where?
In Chonburi. Yeah.
Oh.
So the amount of cases has dropped.
It hasn't been red, has it, since the beginning of the month?
Yeah.
I don't think it's been down.
And we're back to COVID.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is that this influences, you know, what I'm saying is you had this demonstration, yeah, that was there, and then you got Koh Larn, yeah, the people are actually trying to take more control of what's going on because the livelihood, but what they said they closed. I think that was back in April. They actually closed Koh Larn, yeah.
It does appear that
it was closed. It was closed.
Yeah, and then they voted. We'll open on the 14th of June. Yeah. Now, not a whole lot of people have gone, but from what I gather, more and more are going to go. Well, it's local people now. Last weekend in Pattaya, it was the beaches in Jomtien were really busy, and there was deck chairs out. And there was
people
food
from
vendors,
Bangkok, right?
people from Bangkok who were just sick of the situation in Bangkok and getting a bit stir crazy. Yeah.
I tell you a quick story, and this is correct. This guy I know from streaming, he lived in Baltimore, and he came over to see his girlfriend 3 months ago. So he's been on the, renewing his thing because he can't leave, and he's quite happy to, and he's going to stay here.
Visa,
yeah. He's now staying in an apartment. He stayed in various places. Started off in a hotel. He's done an ASQ and all that. He started off in a hotel and all that, and he's now found an apartment. And he wouldn't give it because it was on air, so he wouldn't want to dox himself. But he said it's near the Holiday Inn. Here's the view from my window balcony, which was the beach. Was the road and the beach, and he showed us around the apartment, which was a nice living room, kitchen bit in the corner, nice bathroom, bedroom, everything nice. He said, how much do you think I'm paying for this a month? It's fully inclusive, aircon, electricity. He said, yeah, how much? 8,000 baht.
Wow.
Sea views, yeah.
With a sea view, 8,000. It wasn't a hotel. It wasn't like a condo block. I can't quite work it out, but it was, I think, a sort of a townhousey job, but done out nicely.
Yeah.
So he says that the guy said to him that in the good days he would charge 3,500 a night. Of course, if you did it for a month back in the old days, you would get it cheaper than 3,500 a night, but not 8,000 baht.
Well, also, you say about this.
Did it come with breakfast?
You say about hotels and things like that. What I also hear through the grapevine is just now for restaurants who have taken the gamble to open, sometimes through necessity just to be able to cover their overhead, a lot of the prices of what they would buy wholesale is now being sold to them at retail, and the wholesalers do not care. Yeah. They just say, we just want the money. So if you're a restaurant, you're not going to get your discount to be able to put a margin on to make some money. And that's across wine and everything.
Then you pass it on to the consumer who's earning less money.
And of course, the man in the street's buying wine like 1 bottle or 2 bottles, so they're not being able to sell.
Well, you can't sell wine and stuff just now anyway, but the point is
you can sell from the shops. It's only within restaurants.
Some restaurants will sell on a basis of retail. Yeah. But
take one with
point
you,
is
can't you? You can have your meal, then walk off with
and they're allowed to charge corkage.
Bottle of wine under your
So it's very, very sad that the kick-on effect is on restaurants, which is key.
Well, can I take you back? You just said when they gamble to do it. What did you mean by gamble?
Well, if you open, you have to pay all your staff.
Whether you're going to be,
a lot of restaurants are still paying their staff a large percentage or full. Yeah. Even though they cannot open.
Oh no, there was an article in about Phuket in the Bangkok Post, I think it was, about a guy that opened his restaurant in Phuket recently. He said, I'm going to give it a try because it's just dead. And he said, I closed it within a week. Nobody went into
the
it. Nobody
Retox-
went into
People were
it.
scared to go out.
Retox closed, down in Pattaya,
Yes, it did.
which is one of the sort of well-known institutions and very popular amongst expats with the food deliveries and everything else. And yeah, that was quite. Obviously, it wasn't a shock necessarily because we know what's happening, but it just goes to show the extent of this situation for these hospitality businesses, given a place like that has had to turn around.
They've got to assist these entertainment places.
Well, see, I'm not.
They would have done it if they were.
I know, but all they do is
It's
say go for a small loan, and the conditions on that loan is just too difficult. Yeah.
I think the places.
how they assist it is they let them open again, let them serve beer.
Well, that's one. That's certainly something. But also, for this period, they should be giving some assistance through salaries, paying a percentage of that. Also having a moratorium on rents, so they can't get kicked out. And that'd be a good way to sort out some of the rent problems where everyone's having to pay cash to the person and declare a different level, and they could sort out the tax.
People saying
The thing is, do they want to sort it out? That's the key.
Well, that's my point.
That's always the point.
See, people say walking the street, it's dead, it's finished, and it'll bounce back because of where it is, Walking Street. What I fear is that nice little Italian restaurant at the bottom of a shop house on the corner. We all know them, and it's always a good place to go. The food is good. They've been closed now for God knows how many months. Are they ever going to reopen? Will somebody else buy their property or rent it? They're finished. People on Walking Street, it'll get taken over, revamped, There'll always be money to put into
If it's a
Walking Street.
location, the property owner knows they're going to get their money.
But down some soy, quite even the dark side, where there's lots of these nice little restaurants, although the overheads are cheaper.
And they're probably not suffering as bad also because, of course, they more cater to residents and people that live in Pattaya.
And their
rather than
overheads
tourists.
are less.
It's the ones that rely on the tourist dollar which are going to suffer the most. And of course, that feeds into the fact that they're going to be in areas which are more expensive for the rents and that type of thing because it is a tourist area. Your beach roads, these sort of places, as you said, your walking streets, your soy bacaos even. Soy bacaos, as I mentioned before, that really got me the other night where I just realised just how derelict this place is.
Welcome to the doom and gloom channel.
The fact is that if any place that closes, which is in a prime location, they know somebody's going to rent it. There's going to be somebody else
because of the foot traffic or whatever it is.
So it's just a matter of time. It's just you feel sorry for.
But
the
I feel
person.
sorry for the individual
Yes.
that has to give it all up, and someone else will walk in. Here's the money. I'll start my business there now.
And a few people have actually, I've seen a couple of businesses that have actually sort of moved from prime tourist locations because they'll have like a tourist clientele as well as locals, and then they've opened a smaller place over on the dark side, because people like their food, and of course there's still the opportunity to stay in business.
And then maybe they move back again.
Yeah, exactly.
Or maybe the dark side rises from.
So we all have
you never know.
There's plenty going on there, as you say. I mean, from a resident's point of view, and there are places over on that side which are suffering as well because there are still groups of guys, whatever, that come over and maybe are golfers, and they're likely to stay over there, and people still rent houses, and there is still an industry for tourists over that side, or maybe people that are more familiar with the place that come for 2 or 3 months. Yeah. But obviously nothing on the scale of what would normally happen.
Let's hope. Let's just hope that things get better. I try to be in the positive, and I hope everybody else is okay and coping with all of this.
It's very difficult when you're doing a show because we have a Hua Hin report, we have the Bangkok stuff that go out, and then the Pattaya report. And at the moment, it is all COVID. But it is an interesting subject because it does change regularly. It's not like it's the same old. It's a COVID, but the laws, regulations are changing. That's now opening, or that's now closed. You can't do this. Now you can do. So it's forever changing.
Yeah, I mean, even in my business just now, what we find is we're not as busy as we used to be, but we are actually quite busy. And what in the spare time, what we've been doing is catching up on our own.
So there's
stuff.
one bit. And you said you're working from home a lot. Do you go and see clients as much, or do you Zoom them, or
face to face?
You're in the insurance business here.
I mean, face to face meetings are less. Although I do go into my office in Pattaya a couple of days a week, and maybe the one in Bangkok once a week, and meet people.
Do you have staff still there, or?
Well, we have consultants here in Bangkok, and we'll get together and have like a sort of colleagues meeting or whatever. We have most of the sort of staff, full-time staff, are in Vietnam, but But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's less, definitely less. I mean, there is still a reluctance for some people to want to meet face to face.
Yeah, I get it.
And
You've been using more Zoom. I mean, I'm using Zoom more with clients now than ever before.
I mean, it's been like that for the last 18 months almost, hasn't it? I mean, the online meetings are something which happen, but in my line of work, especially on the investment side, getting closing deals over Zoom is not something which is easily done.
No, I don't like. I don't.
Well, I
like
mean, you
what
can't turn
we're
around and
doing.
say
There's just that whole dynamic of the way it works. I mean, insurance is a bit different because insurance, you're buying something which is fixed, whereas when you're making an investment, you're having to rely on the trust of the person that you're with, and you can't really build that trust over a video screen, in my opinion.
Before we wind it up, I think this is a very good point to talk about our next video coming up, which is all about working from home, or companies that have their employees working from home. Can you just very briefly?
Yeah, we've got Peter Bull coming on. He's a consultant, and he's going to be explaining about the dynamics of working from home from the basis of a company, and how it affects the culture within a company, and how to manage that change, both to going to work from home and also people coming back to the office.
Do the workers miss the atmosphere of an office environment? Do they prefer the home environment?
And also the mental stress of it, because if you're working home with kids and things like that, basically he's going to get into all that sort of detail.
And that's coming up after this one.
Yeah, and how
Whenever
to
this one's
plan for
going
it.
out.
Yes.
Craig, thanks for coming all the way up. We really appreciate you, mate. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, always good to be here. Thank you very much.
He's looking like a rabbit in the headlights for a moment. Is he talking to me? And Andrew, well, you're part of the furniture. Thanks for watching. If you're new to the channel, then don't forget to subscribe if you like what you see. Also, notification button, liking and sharing is important as well. Stay tuned, and I hope you enjoyed the show. It's Bangkok Chit Chat. See you next time.